friends, welcome to the In Focus series of Drishti IAS. My name is Ritu and today's session is about fiscal consolidation. As you already know that budget had arrived and this time we have interim budget because election is coming to this year and because of election we have interim budget. However, in this interim budget, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has quoted about the fiscal consolidation and she has highlighted that government is planning to do fiscal consolidation in order to improve the economic condition of the country. So that's why we have chosen this topic, and we will also discuss what is fiscal deficit and why fiscal consolidation is important for the economy of a country. So moving towards the points of discussion part. First of all, we are going to discuss the news and then we are going to discuss what is fiscal deficit. We'll have a brief idea about fiscal deficit and then how does government fund its fiscal deficit, and then we are going to discuss why does fiscal deficit matters and what lies ahead, and we are also going to discuss practice question for prelims. So moving towards the news part. So in the budget speech, Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has quoted that they had targeted to reduce fiscal deficit by 5.1%, and why this is a matter of news, because many economic analysts have predicted that it would be more than 5.1%, like 5.3%, 5.4%. So, because of this statement, so many economic analysts and economic experts are saying that government of India is becoming ambitious and it is very difficult to achieve this target. However, government has given this target, so we should focus on to this point. So, what is the fiscal deficit target of 2024 and 5 for this interim budget? So it is 5.1%. Analysts have predicted that it would be like 5.3% or 5.4%, and government has also focused on to this point that for the next budget session they will try to reduce it by 4.5%. So when in MCQ they will ask the current year, then your answer would be 5.1%, and then when they will ask for the financial year 2025 and 2026, then it would be the 4.5%. Mostly they will ask for this thing, which is the current year. So that is a matter of news, and that's why we are discussing this topic. Moving to the next slide, which is what is fiscal deficit. So in a lay person's language, when you have to understand that what is the fiscal deficit, so when the revenue, when the government expenditure is greater than government's revenue, so that is the called as a fiscal deficit. So when you spend a lot but collection is less, so this is called a fiscal deficit, and in simple language it is fiscal deficit refers to the shortfall in government's revenue when compared to its expenditure. So there is a shortfall of the government's revenue and expenditure is greater than revenue, so that's why this situation is called as the fiscal deficit. I hope this point makes sense to you. Then coming to that, what is the expectation of government this time? So the government has expected that the tax receipts are to be collected as rupees 26.2 lakh crore and total revenue is estimated to rupees 30.8 lakh crore. So why we are here discussing about the tax collection? Because through tax collection we can generate the revenue. So because of that, it's very important to know the government estimate towards the tax collection. So this is the estimation. And the union government total expenditure on the other hand is estimated to be rupees 47.6 lakh crore. So the government is trying to reduce this gap so that we can have a lesser amount of fiscal deficit in an economy. So this is a brief about the fiscal deficit, and we had also discussed that what is the government's current estimates regarding this thing. Moving to the next slide. Next slide is about how does government fund its fiscal deficit. So we already had discussed about the tax collection, and through tax collection government tried to raise the revenue. So when there is a situation of fiscal deficit, then how government compensate this thing? So the government mainly borrows money from the bond market, and what happened that government issues bond and many private lenders purchases that bonds. So that creates a situation when government gets benefits, and because of that they can manage their fiscal deficit. However, RBI also plays a crucial role into this whole scenario. RBI does not directly purchases bonds from the government of India. They purchase it from the private lenders who had already purchased the bond from the government of India. and RBI issues the fresh currencies to the government. So in this scenario, RBI also helps to government to manage their fiscal deficit. So this is the chain we follow for this thing, and government has expected this time that they will borrow a gross amount of rupees 14.13 lakh crore. However, so many economists have analyzed and expected that government will maybe borrow rupees 15.6 lakh crore. So what we can see that whatever the estimates economic experts have predicted for the government is performing and surprising them with lesser amount of fiscal deficit ratio and also the lesser amount of the borrowing money. So that makes a curiosity among economic analysis that how government is going to be fulfill all these targets in such short of time, and that to a very ambitious target. So this is that how does government fund its fiscal deficit? So it's mainly through the bond, and RBI has also role in it, and monetary policy also plays an important role in how much it costs government had to borrow money from the market. So monetary policy has also an important role. And why people are eager to purchase the government bonds? Because government bonds are risk-free bonds and they have accountability. So that's why lenders wants to borrow and purchase this government bonds. So this is the chain we follow. Moving to the next slide. Next slide is about that why fiscal deficit matters. So we have a direct correlation between fiscal deficit and inflation. When we have a high amount of fiscal deficit, then there is a direct correlation for this inflation also. High amount of fiscal deficit, high amount of inflation. So that's why it's very important to manage and control the fiscal deficit. In today's scenario, it's very rare that government expenditure is lesser than the revenue, and hardly any countries has this kind of the situation. Not even our country have this kind of the situation. So what all the governments of the world are trying that they should control the fiscal deficit. They cannot exceed the expenditure or they cannot exceed their revenue. So in that situation, they have to manage and they have to make balance between both things. And their main target is to reduce the fiscal deficit. So in the pandemic time, it was 9.5%, which was very much high. And this is not a surprising that it was 9.5% because economy was so down in the pandemic. But India has recovered fast, and now it is expecting that it will reduce by 5.1%, and for next year onward it will reduce by 4.5%. So India is trying to balance this fiscal deficit. So that's why fiscal deficit matters a lot, and a lower fiscal deficit may thus improve the rating assigned to the Indian government's bonds. So the rating government bonds which is purchased by various lenders, so the rating will be improved if you have a less amount of fiscal deficit or fiscal target in the economy. So the rating have a positive impact, and the lenders will be interested in purchasing all those bonds. If the rating would be lower and if the interest rate would be higher, then lenders will also not purchase the bonds for the government of India. So RBI cannot also purchase that bond from the private lender. So that is a complete cycle which will affect the Indian economy. So that's why the fiscal deficit target should be the lowered. And also this time International Monetary Fund has warned India that India's public debt could more than 100% of the GDP of the medium term due to risk. Although the center has denied this assessment and center has said that this is not true assessment about India's economy, but we should also not ignore the statement issued by biggest financial institution of the world, which is International Monetary Fund, that our economy is in danger and we should control our fiscal deficit. So this is why the fiscal deficit matters to us. Moving to the next slide, which is what lies ahead. So what is the method to increase the government's revenue? So the one method we already had discussed is about the tax collections, and India is trying to improve its tax collection drive through GST, and we had also improved into this direction. And India has also projected to cut expenditure on fertilizer subsidy, which was earlier 1.88 lakh crore, and right now they have expected to rupees 1.6 lakh crore in 2024 and 25. And the amount spent on food subsidy is also projected to cut, and how much it will be cut So from 2.12 lakh crore, it will be 2.105 lakh crore in 2024-2025. So by these method, India is also trying to increase its tax collection drives and also drop the subsidy for fertilizers and food also. So in this way, India is trying to balance its fiscal deficit. So this is the path India is following, that they are trying to improve its tax collections drive, and India has also expected that this time they will collect 11.5% more tax through all these GST method or direct collection method. So this is the method which is India is going to follow. And moving towards the practice question for prelims part. So the question is related to which of the following steps under the fiscal policy is an example for stabilizing the economy. And the first statement is making payments towards unemployment insurance benefits, making payment towards pensions for retired military personnel, allocating more capital for spending on construction of national highways, decreasing the supply of money within the economy. So if you are able to understand this whole session, you will be able to answer this question very easily in the comment section. If you have any queries related to this whole session, kindly ask in the comment section. Before that, you have to like, share and subscribe to the Drishti IAS English channel. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.